Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy Miguel back again with another video, and today I have the Xiaomi 13T. Now this phone, as you can see over here, is co-engineered with Leica, which immediately tells you that it's going to have a pretty good camera system. Now this is an upper mid-range phone from Xiaomi. We're going to go ahead and review this today, and I'm going to show you guys why this phone has some very good flagship level features for the price that it comes. So this is a very worth it phone in my opinion. I was very impressed by some of the specs. So let's go ahead and review it. Looking at what we have in the box, so we have the Xiaomi 13T in the black color. This comes with 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of internal storage. There is an option to buy it in 12 gigs of RAM as well, and I believe 256 is the only option we have, which is kind of a little bit of a bummer. But apart from that, let's take a look at the remaining of the details. Right up front, we have the booklet, which will contain the SIM ejector pin, some paperwork, and also a silicone case with a fairly large cutout for the camera, which tells you that this phone is camera focused. Now looking at the phone, we have some of the features that are mentioned right on top, and I apologize for the weird unpacking. This is a review unit, so you can expect things like that. So we have Leica professional camera system, powered by 67 watts of fast charging. We also have a long-lasting 5000 milliampere, which is gonna charge pretty quickly with that 67 watt charger. We have IP68 water and dust resistance, which is really good to see. And probably the best feature is the 144 crystal res AMOLED display. So this has 144 Hz of refresh rate, which is pretty unheard of, especially in this price range. And last but not least, we have a flagship 4nm processor. This comes with MediaTek's Dymensity 8200 chip, which is a pretty decent chip, and I'll show you guys the benchmarks that we were able to get with this phone. Apart from that, we have the charger, which, as mentioned, it is a 67 watt fast charger. And last but not least, we have the USB-A to USB-C cable. Now looking at the design of the phone, the first thing that I was able to notice was how shiny this was, and the immediate fingerprints that I was able to get on it, like just immediately. This phone is an extremely shiny phone, and it looks and feels very good in the hands. The only criticism that I have is that it's kind of it's light, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, but for a sort of like an upper mid-range phone, it kind of doesn't feel like that. And this is a little bit confusing because this feels like glass. And the thing about Xiaomi is that some of their devices actually have a glass back, and some of their devices have a silicone polymer back, which is a fancy word for plastic. And I believe this one is plastic. It feels like glass. It's not glass. I don't think it's glass because it's very lightweight, and I would assume that if this was glass, then it would be a little bit heavier. We also see the camera system over here. So we have a triple camera setup. The main is a 50 megapixel camera. We also have another 15 megapixel camera, which is a telephoto lens, which has 2 times optical zoom, and then we have a 12 megapixel camera. We also have the flash, and then we also have the Leica branding over here. Looking at the overall design of the phone, the back is slightly curved, so it feels better in the hands, and I think that's a really good thing. The front is completely flat, so I think that's a very good combination. A bit of a curved back and then a flat edge design on the front is pretty nice. This is an aluminum frame. We have one speaker on top. We have the IR blaster, I believe, and then we also have the volume rocker here, the power button, another speaker, the USB-C port, and also the SIM tray. And the SIM tray will only support 2 SIMs. It does not have the option for external memory, which again is kind of a downside considering that you can only get this in 256 gigs of internal storage. I should also mention that the front glass is actually Gorilla Glass 5. And talking about the display, without a doubt, I think the display is probably one of the best features of this phone, apart from the camera system. This is a flagship level display. This is a 6.67 inch AMOLED display. As I mentioned, the best part about this display is the fact that it has 144 Hz of refresh rate, which can actually be set up according to your liking. So you can actually tone it down to 60 if you want to, or you can actually use it to 144. Now, one thing that confuses me is the up to 144 Hz, because that tells me that it's not always going to be 144. It may be 120, and then in some cases For example, if you're watching YouTube videos that support that type of refresh rate, there may be 144. If you're playing a game, which I haven't really seen a lot of games playing at 144, especially on cell phones. So I think it's not 144 at all times, but I think that it can go up to 144 when it's needed. So that's a little bit of a gray area. This supports Dolby Vision, and it also supports HDR10+. And I believe the resolution for this is 1220, which is a little bit above full HD. And I should also mention that the brightness is pretty good. So this goes up to 1200 nits of brightness, which is pretty impressive if you put it in auto mode, and if you are outside, this will go up to 1200 nits of brightness. Now, if we talk performance, then this comes with MediaTek's Dymensity 8200 chip, which is based on a 4nm platform, and that is the latest that most phones have, apart from obviously Apple, which now has the A17 Pro Bionic chip, which is based on 3nm. But nevertheless, it looks like they're facing a little bit of an overheating issue. But if we look at the numbers, then this gave us on Antutu about 894,000 points, which if you round off, that's almost 900,000 points. And this is very similar numbers to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, just below that. So that was hitting about 1 million points. And I should mention that this is the 8 gig variant. If you go to the 12 gig variant, then there's a possibility that this will hit pretty much flagship level numbers equivalent to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip. If we talk about the battery, this comes with a 5000 milliampere battery, which is pretty standard nowadays. And this does come with a massive 67 watt charger that's in the box. So this should charge your phone pretty quickly. And based on the test that we did, this was able to charge the phone from 0 to 100% in around 42 minutes, which I think is pretty decent. Now, if we talk about the cameras, which is probably the best feature about this phone, and because this is co-engineered with Leica, so you can expect the cameras to be good, and they are actually good because I did a little bit of a test. I took some photos, but I do have a little bit of a criticism, which I'll talk about. First of all, let's go ahead and look at the camera module on the back. So we have a triple camera setup. We have a main 50 megapixel camera. This is a wide lens, and then we also have a 50 megapixel telephoto lens, which has 2x optical zoom. The main one is the only one that has optical image stabilization. We also have a smaller 12 megapixel camera, which can be used for macro photography, but I'm going to mainly focus on these two cameras. Now, if you go into the camera app, you have certain features. So you have you have portrait mode, you have night mode, you have more options, panorama, time lapse, and you also have a pro mode, and alongside with a documents mode in case you want to take pictures of documents, which is pretty decent. Now, once you are in the photo mode or the video mode or the night mode, you get the option to actually select a Leica. So that means that it's now going to start shooting or giving that effect and that co-engineering aspect of Leica. I wasn't able to see a lot of difference from the regular camera, and then when I pressed this button, the only thing was probably that the photo was a little bit more vibrant, and I think it just plays around the filters a little bit, if I'm not wrong. I wasn't able to see any difference, so that's one thing. Maybe a little bit on the colors is where I saw a little bit of a change. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was the portrait. So the portrait photography is good. It provides a little bit of a background blur. You can also change it. So if you look over here, you have different options to choose in documentary mode, swirly bokeh mode, and soft focus mode, which will give you different lens types. So 35mm, 50mm, and 90mm, and you also have a default. Again, I wasn't able to see much of a difference there. Nevertheless, the option is there, and I did see that the portrait mode was a little bit grainy, so it wasn't as clear. There was a lot of noise in it. That is my only criticism that I have. You are able to shoot 4K in 30 FPS. It doesn't give you the option of 60 FPS until you turn it down to 1080p. And it also can shoot in 720, which is pretty useless. I don't think anyone's going to be shooting in 720. The front camera is also pretty decent. It's not integrated with Leica. I should mention that there's no mode for that. It's just a simple 20 megapixel camera, but I should say that it's a pretty decent camera. It's actually more than decent. It has pretty accurate colors, which is probably the best part that I like about the cameras, both on the front and the back. The colors are very decent. You are able to shoot in 1080p at 30 FPS with the front camera if you want to. Last but not least, if we talk about the pricing, then this is a very reasonably priced phone. This falls under the upper mid-range phone. category, and for that I think this is a very reasonably priced phone, because this is around 2,500 dirhams, which is not bad at all, considering that you are getting very premium features and nearly flagship level features, if I'm being honest. So the display is near flagship. The chip is also near flagship levels. It will provide you with very good performance. You can actually game on this phone, so if you want to play PUBG, that is supported very well. And again, you also have a pretty decent camera setup with this phone. And last but not least, you also have the 144 Hz, which is probably one of the best features that you can find in a camera that's priced at this level. So yeah guys, that's my opinion and my review on the Xiaomi 13T. Stay tuned, because the 13T Pro is also going to be incoming in a couple of days, most likely today or tomorrow. So stay tuned for that, and let me know down in the comments below what you think about this phone and whether you would consider buying this for the price that it comes with. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.